This segment of Invent America TV is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpblawoffices.com.
Welcome! This is the Invent America show here on the King Broadcasting Network, on the Invent America Radio Network. I want to welcome all of my Home Talk USA radio audience to the Invent America show. And now I'd like to welcome the co-hosts. And I'm her co-pilot now, the Inventor Lady herself, Miss Rita Crompton. Miss Rita, wow.
Hey there,
welcome.
Michael. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. I mean, the show's doing great. We're still on the air. They haven't thrown us off yet. So, and I'm just so great to be, I think we're celebrating 1,194 episodes today. So it's a lot of episodes out there, and you can always go to hometalkusa.com and catch our archives. Our shows are sitting there. And but what I want to talk about before we get our first guest on, and I knew it was eventually, we talked about this, I don't know, a couple months ago, how AI was going to affect our industry, when it's actually was going to be pretty much get implemented into the home industry. And well, it's here. And we're going to be talking to one of the prototype companies that an old school guy, right? Actually, old school guy. And now he is implemented AI into prototyping, and I want to talk about that. So that's going to be pretty much our show today, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody uses AI one way or another. And, the key word in that is artificial, because it's artificial. It's not real. So you got to be really careful the way you use it. It's like a tool. If you use the hammer correctly, it pounds the nail into the wood. If you use it incorrectly, you break your finger. So we want to make sure that, people understand the challenges of using AI, because it is a valuable tool. I've got hammers in 3 rooms, 4 rooms out of the house, and don't touch my hammer because the pink will wear off on your hand. If you do, it's contaminated with male, versus female. Don't touch my hammers. But you've got to pay attention on how to use it.
Yeah, and that's the key. Let's face it, when we get new technology or we're just so hesitant or scared, or we get intimidated on new technology, regardless what the technology is. But and it kind of brings me back. Whoa, I want to say, man, am I that old? Mid 80s.
You are that old.
Yeah. When I actually had a computer for the first time, and there was no operating system, and we were still operating on DOS, where you actually, this black screen came up and you just and then you just typed in your file, whatever, how you wanted to use the computer.
0101110.
Yeah.
In green.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And this was, so it was like, and I didn't type. So it's like taking your finger, but it was intimidating, man. This thing was like foreign to us. Now it's like part of our lives. Well, it's the same thing we're talking about. What AI is now, it is a part of our life. Artificial intelligence here. Computer systems are here.
I always used to say, change is coming. If you fight the change, you get left behind, because the change is coming. It's like water. You can't stop water from flowing. I know we were just in a flood. So, the whole idea is that artificial intelligence is coming. Using it wisely, controlling it, understanding it, it becomes very valuable. Yeah. Knowing what it does well. Believe it or not, you've still got to check the spelling of all the words, just like they were a little kid in a class spelling the words wrong. And then they want to argue with you. It's like, oh no, I know how to spell that word. It's like, no, you don't. You're spelling it wrong. Put in a different synonym. And I've had to tell people to do that, because, they want to, do a new name. It's artificial intelligence wants to spell it one way. It's like, no, just spell it differently and pick a synonym. So it is fun to learn. It's a little on the crazy side. And, we are finding that it does certain things better than others. You should never practice law with artificial intelligence. Probably shouldn't practice medicine with artificial intelligence, But when you're doing, a design, a sheet to make it do this, make it do that, make it this kind of size, make the ratios this to that. It can do a pretty good job.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you said. If you don't adapt to change, you're going to be a dinosaur. The parade is going to go right by you. Well, you're right. Sears didn't adapt. Kmart didn't adapt. Video stores didn't adapt. I can go on and on and on. And then all of a sudden, they're not there anymore. It's because they didn't adapt. There's some things they could have did to, but you know what? Sometimes your arrogance or well, I got another one. And I love Burger King. Everybody always asks me about Burger King. I love Burger King. I hear about, and the only reason why I like Burger King, and I'll tell you that now, and they're not paying me anything for this, the flame broil patty. I mean, it tastes like a barbecue patty. I love the Whopper. Well, look what happened to Burger King. All right, Burger King was gone. They got away from what got them to the dance, and they were getting ready to go under. Then what happened? New CEO came and said, we're going to go back to our basics. We're going to go back to the Whopper. We're going to take it out of that BS wrapper. We're going to put it in a carton. We're going to put some meat and some lettuce and tomatoes, and we're going to build that stack again on that. And I tell you, the last 4 or 5 hamburgers I got, man, it was the old Burger King, But the point I'm trying to make is, if you get away from what brings you to the dance and you don't adjust, you're going to be a stink, no matter what industry you're in. And I gave you a whole bunch of industries, from videos to retail to food. You're gonna be a stink. And you made some good points. You made some good points. And that's what AI is going to take care of. It's going to bring you into the 21st century. Don't be intimidated by it, because at the end of the day, it's still human programming. You got to program. Somebody's programming it. Yeah.
It's a tool. We all learn how. I mean, back in the day, people weren't using cell phones, and now everybody uses a cell phone. We live on our cell phones. All right. Kids are, they're given one when they go to kindergarten. And, yes, it's got limitations on it, but they're still learning how to use it. My mother is 90 years old, and she uses her cell phone very well. So everybody can learn new tricks. That old dog can learn a new trick, and it makes your mind work better, and your communication skills are better. So, everything that you learn is an asset to you. And if you try to pretend like things aren't changing, you lose.
Well, look at the production of this show. Let's just use this show. I'm going to go back to, let's say I've been on since 1988, so been on a long time. You remember, you used to be at the trade shows. I used to have to have a truck come in. We used to have the cables running from outside all the way to the booths so I can broadcast my show. And then we went from that to the little unit that was done by the telephone. And then now we went to satellite. And look where we at now. I am broadcasting this show on my laptop. Actually, on my laptop that's tied into a Wi-Fi that's tied into the network. You follow me? So prime example.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Now, if you don't use it right, it can, bite you in, where you're not looking. And, but when you use it wisely, it's like any other new tool. You practice, you learn it. It's like when you go out to, learn how to play baseball. You got to stand there and swing the ball at the bat at the ball until you learn how to hit it and get your timing down. But golly sakes, I love some of these new tools, and I've enjoyed learning them.
Yeah, that's true too. So, hey, it affects all of us, and technology is here, and as long as I pay my Wi-Fi bill, and but at the end of the day, I still can get on the telephone and do this show if I had to. So, but here it is what it is. But we got a great show. Tell us about our guest again, who we have coming up.
All right, my first guest is the inventor of Jack Ratchet. It is a really cool belt. I'm going to let him tell you about it, Dave Shabbat. And, then my industry expert is Noah McNeely. We've had him on many times, one of our sponsors. And he's going to talk then about, the way Dave did it through one step, and now kind of that new AI way.
All right, we're going to take a short break. Got to run up against the clock. I am the Cajun contractor, Michael King, along with the Inventor Lady herself, Rita Crompton. This is InventAmerica. We will be right back. Yeah, hey, y'all come back now. You hear?
This segment of InventAmerica TV is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
Welcome back, America. This is the InventAmerica show here on InventAmerica Radio. I'm the Cajun contractor, Michael King. If you're just joining us, me and the Inventor Lady herself, Miss Rita Crompton, the co-host of the show. Rita, before we get to Mr. David, I'm excited to get him on. I want to learn a little bit about what he's doing, because he's doing some great innovative things down there.
And my guest for this segment is Dave. Is it Shabbat or Shabbat?
However you like to say it. I get it.
Well, Dave is the inventor of Jack Ratchet. It's a very cool belt. And Dave, tell everybody what is special about your belt.
Okay, so everyone knows about traditional belts, right? There's something called the ratchet belt, or the track belt, or the click belt. It has many different names to it. It's actually, from as far as I know, it's been around for many, many years. I think over 50 years. I used it in the Army like a long time ago. But for whatever reason, it kind of, I guess it got buried under, nobody really was using it for the last 50 years. All of a sudden, there's a company in 2018 called Mission Belt, and they went on Shark Tank. You can probably find the airing and watch them. But I guess they revived this ratchet belt. And since then, if you go on Amazon or you Google ratchet belt, you'll see there's a bunch of sellers that are selling this ratchet belt. So it's basically, it's a belt with no holes. It works on a track mechanism. So instead of adjusting your size with holes, you're basically adjusting it with this track. So I think it's about like 30 or so different adjustments that it has. So there's no wear and tear on the belt anymore. It's very convenient. You just adjust the track, the buckle along the track, and it's a very hot seller. So being in the wholesale industry back in 2016, started selling regular traditional belts. We saw this belt enter the market, and then I just I had this idea, God sent me this idea, I would say. And basically I just looked at the market and I saw there's traditional belts and there's regular reversible belts, but there's no reversible belt for the ratchet belt. So, I said, well, why don't we just make one? So I went ahead and we did that, I guess, not with AI. AI wasn't around back then. So we went ahead and we went to a CAD, we got a CAD drawing, and then we made sure that we were able to patent it. It took a couple of years, that whole patent process. We got a utility patent on it, and we made a prototype, and then we found the factory that was able to produce a sample. We brought it in, and then we said, let's bring in a batch. So we brought in our first batch in 2022, and that's kind of how it started.
All right, so not fair, because you already answered my second question that I had for you. So why is yours better or different than the existing ones out there?
So the existing ones out there, well, there really is no existing reversible ratchet belt. We are the only ones that have this utility patented reversible ratchet belt. All other ratchet belts, the track mechanism goes down the length on one underside of the strap. So you can only have one color strap. On the other side, if you flip it over, that's where the track is going. So you can't use that side as a color. What we did is that we took that track mechanism, and instead of putting it down the length of the belt, we put it on the edges of the strap. So the buckle now will go and it'll basically sit you can adjust it on the edges of the strap. And now instead of having one color, one side strap, now you have two. So you just flip the buckle and now you have a double belt, or the reversible belt. So that's what differentiates us. We're the only ones to have this in the market.
So very cool. All right. So you got to spend some time on QVC. How was that?
QVC was amazing. Sure, until it went bankrupt this year. They're not around now. I wish they were. We did very well with them. They really were very happy. QVC, it's really I guess it's they know their algorithm, but as far as I know, they put us on. I think the first time it was maybe 1 a.m. I don't know who's watching QVC 1 a.m, but I guess you have people watching it, and for that time slot, they performed pretty well, well enough that they wanted to run us again. So we had airings on QVC starting in 2022, I believe, when we first brought it in. We got our first airing, and then over the years, they aired us multiple times throughout the year, sometimes on their main channel, sometimes on their sub-channels. They have QVC2, and they have other channels that they run it. And we did very well. Had a great relationship with the buyer over there, and they just kept on rerunning it. So as far as I'm concerned,
cool.
It was great. Yeah, I wish it was still around.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Congratulations. So as we're talking about prototypes today, and there wasn't AI back then, how did you work through? How long did it take you to get then to that level of manufacturer's prototype?
Oh, it was a big headache. I'll tell you, it was a lot of back and forth. I would say all in all, it probably took 2 years. Which I'm sure there's, different projects take different time periods, but for ours, it took about a couple of years. There's a lot of back and forth. You make a revision. Every time you make a revision to the product, it can take another few months before you get back the revised version, and then you see another revision that has to be made. So it's a lot of back and forth. I'm sure today haven't done it yet, but I'm sure with AI it'll probably be done within a few days or a couple of weeks at most.
We'll see how that ends up working. But where can someone go and get Ratchet Belt? We're coming up on a segment break, so where can they go find you?
So you go to jackratchet.com. Jack Ratchet, JACKRATCHET, jackratchet.com.
And we will make sure that gets posted as well. So stick with us, everybody. We're going to be right back with our industry expert, Noah McNeely, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how much fun we can all have with AI, proving that there's life on Mars. So stick with us, everybody. We're going to go pay some bills. If you're an inventor or an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free. InventorsRoundtable.org. Everyone, and thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America, because America invents. This segment is brought to you by RPB Law Offices. If you're a small business out there or an inventor and you need someone to have your back, RPB Law Offices is the place to go. So if you need to check it out, you need a patent filed, you need a contract done, rpblawoffices.com is the place to go. And my guest for this segment is Noah McNeely. He is founder and CEO of Product Quick Start, and he has helped a lot of our inventors get through that stage. It is not easy to do that manufacturer's prototype. And a lot of our inventors start with, that duct tape cardboard version. How do you help them get through it? And how has AI made it easier for you?
Sure. Well, there's a lot of questions there. First of all, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on and to talk to you. But so how do I help them do it? Well, first, it's not a one thing. I mean, it is a whole process. You can't, people don't just call me up and say, hey, make a manufacturer's prototype. We have to go through the process, make sure what they have is designed for manufacturing, and then we can get there. But we don't start there. I mean, we start with the really, like you alluded to, like the stuff made of cardboard and duct tape and Play-Doh, whatever it is, we want to prove that it works as cheaply as possible first before we get into the more expensive processes that come down the line. And that's, we get there, but we don't want to start there because it's a very expensive way to do it. But eventually we often work with the actual factory to make that prototype using their processes and their equipment and the whole 9 yards. It doesn't do me a whole lot of good to, well, doesn't do my client a whole lot of good for me to prototype something that has no manufacturing pathway. So we want to make sure we get that involved as early as possible. We asked how AI impacts that or can impact that. And it can be positively or negatively. So, one of the challenges I have with people in AI is that they don't understand it. They think they do. And as I think you've seen, as you and I have seen on other things we do together sometimes, AI is really, really good about making something look like it's professionally done, even though it's not professionally done and it can't actually be done. So that's a problem. So people come to me and they're like, they have these beautiful pictures, these things of, I'm ready to go, but they're not. And, we can sort of go through that and I can pull them back and talk about how AI can be useful and where it's, where they've really tried to push it further than it can go. And I have an example. And I know I have to be respectful of time, and someone's going to hold up a 2-minute warning at some point, but I'll try to be quick. I don't know if I'm going to be broadcast visually, but if anyone can see this, what I have here is a little plastic spaceship. This is a spaceship which I created in AI. I just went to this image generation tool called Midjourney and typed in what I wanted, on the spaceships, aerodynamics, all this kind of cool stuff. I'm a kind of a science fiction nerd, so we created this as a 2-dimensional image. Then I took that over into another AI tool called Meshy, created a 3D file all magically with AI. And then I took that to my 3D printer and I printed this thing. It's cool. It's a great little toy. I have it sitting on my desk and I'll paint it someday when I have time to do stuff like that and kind of relive my youth. But will this actually go into space? Of course not. Could I put a rocket on this and it be aerodynamic? Of course not. It would fall apart. Even if it were made out of the right materials, it wouldn't do everything it's supposed to do. Now, I use that as an example, kind of an extreme example, because it's a spaceship. Obviously, I'm not going to 3D print a spaceship and go out into space. But that same principle applies even if it's something really simple, like the wheels on the bottom of a skateboard, or a new kind of wrench, or a new kind of hammer, or a new kind of legs to glasses. Whatever it is, you can do really cool pictures in AI. You can actually do really cool 3-dimensional things, which would be great for dropping into a video game or displaying on your desk as a piece of art. That doesn't mean that they work, number one. And number two, it doesn't mean that there's a pathway to manufacture them. This guy here, back to the spaceship, I couldn't even really mold this. I could cast it in plastic, be very expensive, and make a rubber casting mold. And I could produce these if I wanted to make them as miniatures, as little art pieces. But mass producing this by tens of thousands just couldn't be done in a way that's very cost effective. So, Rita, I'm rambling a lot. Do you want to help reel me back in a little bit? Because I'll just talk all day, as you know.
Well, what you're saying is let me translate that and make it that, for some of our listeners, for an inventor, it says, oh, wow, I can't buy this. Let me see if I can make it. And, they make a garage version. We laugh about the duct tape and cardboard. I can fix anything with, duct tape and a hammer. But the whole idea of making it then look respectable, all right, that somebody would want to buy it. Well, that's so cool. And why don't you get a patent on that? Well, going from that version of it, you can take pictures of it and send it to your patent attorney, and they can say, oh yeah, but you can take now what you're looking at, what you did in with the duct tape cardboard version, putting some pieces together or whatever, and you can feed that description into AI, and you can come up with a more polished version. Mm-hmm. Now, most inventors in those early stages do not realize that there is a big difference between the rapid prototype version of something and the manufacturer's version of something. And a rapid prototype version, frequently, if they said, well, just make it like this, and you'd say, well, it's going to be, 3 times more than it should be. Because price points now kick in.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to market, the inventors have got to pay attention to landed cost. Price points is what we're talking about. Well, now, when we're getting you involved into it, you say, okay, no, for the manufacturer's version, we can cut out these things. And you're able to send back then a rendering to them so they can understand what you're talking about. There is, we've got artificial intelligence now that we can use as a very valuable tool. Still don't have a crystal ball. You still can't read somebody's. And so when an inventor comes to me and they say, well, all I have are renderings. We cannot license renderings. All right. You've got to have proof of concept. And that is not a rendering. It's like you doing your spaceship thing. It's like, I can't patent this. I can't make it. It is never going to fly in outer space unless I blow it up and the pieces fly all over the place. All right. But it's not something that is marketable.
Right.
And that's where that AI that you use back and forth with an inventor crosses over into reality check.
And here's where I think you touched on some things which you did reel me back in, which is great. You touched on some things that are very important. So there are inventors I meet that use AI very, very effectively. And how they use that is kind of the same way that we use 3D printing as a very early stage of prototyping for manufacturing. Again, not going to manufacture that. They'll use AI as a way to capture their thoughts, to capture the problem they're trying to solve in a way that they can much more efficiently communicate to me or to someone else, so that then we can help them pick up the ball and run with it. So now, a lot of times what I see, which is very, very helpful, instead of someone coming in with that piece of Play-Doh or with that scribble on a napkin, which is fine. I work with that all the time. I don't mind that. They come in with something that's actually this kind of beautiful little picture. And I can look at it and I know exactly what they're trying to do. I can see that's not going to do it, but now I have a much faster way of getting to the problem they're solving, what they're trying to do, rather than spending a whole day with them back and forth answering questions. I can see that right away. Now, again, it's not ready to go, but we're that much further along in the process. That's one effective way I see people using AI. Other ways I think that inventors use it effectively, especially at this prototyping stage, is as a research tool. Like, I even use it myself. Like, sometimes I have this have to build this oddball thing. I'm like, okay, how am I going to make a piece of metal, a solid piece of metal float? And then I go to AI and say, hey, I've heard of this foaming stuff. Can I do that? And then tell me what to buy. And it's great for stuff like that. And then I go out and I experiment with it. Sometimes AI tells you the wrong thing. AI is notorious for that. So always verify. But it's a fantastic research tool for things like that. So you're like, hey, how am I I need to take a prototype to show Noah. How do I make it? What can I take him? What's the best way to, build this thing? I've got Play-Doh and duct tape and styrofoam. What do I do with it? It's a good tool for stuff like that. All right, I'm getting the little sign popping up telling me we're
there you go. We've got to go and pay some bills, everybody. So stick with us. We're going to be back with our industry expert, Noah McNeely. And if you are or you know an inventor out there who needs some help, have them get in touch with us. Rita Crompton at America's Inventor Lady. Google it. I'm everywhere. We'll be right back.
TrueUp, easiest way to hang your pictures. We all know how stressful picture hanging can get. TrueUp comes with everything you need to level and hang pictures with no damage and no mess. Just peel, apply the adhesive to the back of the TrueUp mount and press firmly. Remove the remaining adhesive. Use the level and press and hold for 3 to 5 seconds to attach the TrueUp mount to your wall with a strong hold. The TrueUp frame adapter is compatible with most frames on the market. Apply the adhesive strip to the adapter, stick, and your frame hangs easily on the wall mount. This lets you adjust your picture side to side for perfect placement every time. The possibilities are limitless, and it's easy on your walls. Picture hanging can be truly a one-person job. TrueUp, the future of hanging is here.
Thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America, because America invents. And my guest for this segment is Noah McNeely. So Noah, we are having some fun talking about, prototypes and AI and all of that kind of stuff. And, we've talked about some of the common mistakes that inventors can make. I think one of the big advantages, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that, it used to be, all right, even while, as we were getting started, you went in, found somebody in your own community that could make you a prototype. because doing it long distance didn't make any sense.
Mhm.
They didn't understand, they couldn't read your mind, whatever, you couldn't send something as easily as you can now. So we've been through a lot of stages of being
Sure.
able to use someone long distance. But AI makes it that much easier, because if someone can, say, all right, create an image, or like you said, do some research and say, okay, these are the materials I found that, would possibly be the best. You can go out and do some quick research and say, no, I found this one out here that makes a better product. And, it makes it one step closer to being able to use a crystal ball.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and if you've watched enough princess movies and whatnot, crystal balls can be used for good or evil. So it does, but you have to understand that the AI system, that's just information that's on the internet. And the internet's full of good information and bad information. So use it, but double check it. I mean, don't just go with everything it says, especially if it's something super critical. Now, if you're looking up, hey, how long do I cook French fries? Who cares? But unless you really like your French fries turn out well, I guess. But if you're doing something that's going to cost you a lot of money or et cetera, use it as a great way to find that piece of information, but then go out and do some more traditional research, maybe just with standard internet searches, double check the sources it comes from. And frankly, a lot of the AI tools now, you can instruct it to give you the sources where it got that information, which is very, very useful and very powerful. Then you go check out those sources. If they seem legit, you're further along. Sometimes it's just some guy wrote a blog or wrote an opinion on Reddit, and it's like, one guy who had a bad experience with this thing in Nebraska wrote something on Reddit, so now that's what the AI knows. So double check all that stuff. So it is very good. And you're right, just like we're talking now, you and I aren't in the same location, we're all over the country. We do have much more access to a much broader range of resources, people that have tried all sorts of things with prototyping. Like I said, even I have to prototype oddball stuff once in a while. I mean, if it's plastic, metal, whatever, I can do that all day, every day. But sometimes it's something weird or unusual that's like, I don't know how we're going to make that thing. I can go out. First, I say, I'm not sure we can make it. Then I go out and do the research, make sure we can. And AI is a tool I use for that. But then I always go back and check, okay, is that really going to work? And
Yeah.
sometimes, yes,
I think
sometimes no.
a lot of folks, when they just start using AI, don't realize AI is wired to try to give them what they want to hear. And they don't
Yes.
realize that it's being super objective. It's not. AI is not being objective. It wants to please you. And so you've got to be really careful. Just like you said, you've got to,
That
ask for the
is,
resources, go check the resources, and, ask AI, reword the question. So that you as the user of AI, your results are only going to be as intelligent as you are putting in the request. All right.
yeah,
And if you count on AI as being absolutely accurate, you're going to be the one that is sorely disappointed.
yeah, AI is kind of the ultimate yes man. It is by default kind of wanting to tell you what you want to hear. You said, oh, I want to run a triathlon. And you're going to go, oh, that's great. You can do this. Well, I'm 95 years old and I'm in a walker. That's great. You can do that. No, you can't necessarily do that. Maybe you can at 95. I don't know. But my point is, and you're right, you need to ask those questions the right way. You can actually use AI to double check itself. So you can say, hey, what's the best way for me to prototype this floating metal, thing? And it give you this stuff. Now it says, okay, now go back and ask it, okay, what are all the ways this can fail? What are all the ways I can screw this up? And you'll get answers back there too. So sometimes you don't even have to leave the environment you're in to get those answers. Another thing is you have access to a lot of different AI tools. You've got ChatGPT and Claude and Grok, and back to the whole thing about it wants to please you. You can ask AI, how do I perform an appendectomy? Now, I think things like ChatGPT and Claude, they have safeguards against that. They'll say, go see a doctor, whatever. Grok will answer anything, so be careful with Grok, especially. There's a value to that, but Grok might actually tell you how to cut yourself open if you're not careful. So there's obviously an extreme example, but use all the tools, use them to double check each other. There's no harm in that.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed using it for a variety of things. And like I said earlier when I was talking with Michael, there are certain things that you should use to possibly give yourself better questions, but you should not use it in lieu of. One is an attorney. All right. When you
Sure.
start using AI in place of the returnee, you look like an idiot. All right.
Right.
But it gives you
Now,
the right
there are
question.
some really good attorneys that know how to use AI and use it
Yes,
very
there
well.
is.
But
Oh,
that's different than
absolutely.
you
But
trying to be an attorney.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Or your own doctor or your own engineer
Mhm.
is what I'm getting
Right.
to. It's like, there's a reason these guys go to school for a long time to do what they're supposed to be doing. And so, when you are out there and you are working on a project and you need help, get in touch. All right. Noah McNeely is listed on our website. He is happy to answer questions. I'm there. I'm happy to answer questions. And you know what? If you're an inventor out there and you want to be on the radio, guess what? There are 52 Mondays a year. So give me a call and I will get you on the radio. So everyone, go out there and have a wonderful week. We will see you, hear you, talk to you next week. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We will be back next week with more stories on getting products from mind to market. We will have new inventors and industry experts. So join us and have a wonderful week.